Hi, my name is Witek. I'm an Ottawa real estate salesperson. You can find more information about me at justsellinghomes.ca. And today my guest is
Daren Givoque, Financial Security Advisor from O'Farrell Financial Services.
And how can people find you or contact you?
They can reach me on our website. It's o'farrellfinancial.com. They can also find me through email at ofsi.ca, or they can call me at my office at 613-258-1997.
And Daren, what do you do in your practice, in your business?
So I'm a comprehensive financial planner. I work with mature clients, 50 plus demographic that are looking to talk about or find out more information about retirement, cash flow planning, understanding what their needs are in retirement.
Okay, so it's correlated with something that the lawyer would do in terms of estate planning, right?
Yep. Yeah. So part of my demographic actually is after I work with clients. My primary is working with clients for retirement, but I also have a large portion of my client base that are dealing with estate planning. Right. Those are the clients who maybe aren't going to be using everything that they've created in their life, and they want a very tax efficient way to transition it to the next generation. Okay.
So let's just assume a hypothetical situation. Somebody calls you up. It's an older couple. Mm-hmm. Let's say in their 60s, right? Okay. They're about to retire. Mm-hmm. They do have 3 properties. Okay, and they have 5 children. Okay.
Okay.
What would be your advice once you gather all this information and determine, obviously at some point they want to give some of this to the children, and they want to live comfortably after retirement.
Right.
What would be the steps to determine how much money they need to live comfortably, mm-hmm. and how much they can leave to the children, mm-hmm. because they love them, right?
Right. That's a great question. That's a big question.
Yes, it's a loaded question, I understand. So
no, but I mean, I think you have to kind of like bring it down to simplified terms at the beginning. So when I first meet clients, the first thing I do is I get to know them. I get to know what's important to them. I get to understand what their story is, right. Like you said about the kids, what the relationship is with them. And then we talk a little bit about assets. So every asset is taxed differently. Every asset grows differently, right? Yeah. And all assets have benefits and liabilities, right?
They may have RSPs, they may have other investments.
Yeah. So the first step is usually just capturing that. And I usually do what's called a personal financial review. Okay. So I document all the assets that they have, put them all together, and then we have a conversation about what their need is in retirement. Mm-hmm. So, like, what are they looking for lifestyle-wise in retirement? Are they going to,
like if they want to move to a Caribbean island, it's a different story than they're going to stay in the same
bingo,
home or whatever they do, right?
Yeah, play bingo and hang out in the local area, right? So everyone's dream of retirement is different. So understanding what their cash flow needs to be to support that is the first step, and then looking at the assets and then how those are going to transition into supporting them through retirement, and then long term having that conversation about taxation and how do I reduce their taxes as much as possible. Right. So that's the first conversation, right? And once we look at budget and cash flow, where they're spending their money and where they anticipate spending the money in retirement, then I can see very accurately with the modeling software that I use. Right. I always take my financial plans with my clients out to 90 years old. Okay. And then when I work my way back, that usually tells me what's going to be left over.
So you're telling them, okay, I'm at 60, mm-hmm. I have 30 years to go. In 5 years, I'm going to retire.
Right.
So basically, I need 25 years
to
live comfortably. And then basically, I don't really care what happens with the money. I'll give it to the children. Right?
That's right. And then understanding what's there, how it's going to grow, and what the tax ramifications are if they just leave it and kick it down the road. Right. So my number one job is helping them understand how they can afford retirement. But then the second conversation is really about, over the next 25 years, how do we reduce as much taxes as possible on the estate? And whatever's left over, how do we minimize it to almost zero on the estate costs, taxes?
So you would probably tell them almost exactly they should sell the first property within the first 5 years.
Yes.
The next one maybe in 15, and so on, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, that's a great idea. Like, I mean, and staggering, if you had hard investments like that, you'd want to stagger selling them because you don't want all that income flowing flowing into your, into your
at the same time.
At the same time,
the most taxation.
Exactly.
Possible.
Yeah. So you'd want to stagger that, and then you know what? If they're going to leave something like that, if their plan is to leave some of those hard assets, then having that conversation about how do you put the children on title, at some point in time. Do you trigger some of those taxes at the beginning, like the capital gains tax on yourself?
Right.
Or do you use something like life insurance to equalize the estate in a tax-free way?
What would be the benefits of putting the kids on the title, for example, from taxation point of view, or from what would be the benefit of that?
Well, okay, that's a great question. So I'm not a lawyer, an estate planning lawyer, but I know putting clients on in joint tenants in common will help alleviate some taxes at certain points throughout the estate plan. At the end of the day, the government's going to get their pound of flesh, right? But by adding kids or adult children,
because that becomes their primary residence, right? In that case, or is it treated as investment?
Well, it's still looked at as an investment property because you can only have one primary living house, right? But
but from the kids' perspective, I'm saying, like let's say if they're renting a place, you're adding them onto the title, that kind of becomes. Again, this is probably for the lawyer more than.
That would be more of a lawyer question, because you don't want to. At the end of the day, if you want to make sure you're always on side legally with the government and whatnot. But obviously there are some ways that you can help avoid probate, right? So if the assets like a rental property like that doesn't have to flow through probate. Because you've put them on title, then that might avoid some taxation.
Maybe a partial issue. Anyway, that's purely for the lawyer to determine the legality of it. So.
I think the big conversation is just understanding what the plan is. Like what is it that the clients are trying to accomplish, and what is their primary goal? Because sometimes I'll say to people, one of the questions I get is, a client will say, should I put my children on my primary residence, right, to avoid some probate? And make it their property, not mine. And I'll say, okay, that's fine because you are avoiding probate by doing that. But what you're doing is
they kick you out.
Well, that's
Worst
the thing.
Case scenario, right?
You lose control of the property, number one, and number two, you're creating another tax, which is capital gains for the child.
Right.
So you're avoiding one tax to create another. So that's where you kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what it is they want to try to accomplish, and then building a plan over a certain period of time to make sure that that they're on side.
If that's something that they want to do, would you also meet at the same time with the kids and the parents?
Great question.
How would that work?
Great question. I encourage that all the time. If possible, for mature clients to bring their family in, because sometimes what they want may not be what the children want. So if you're making plans in your estate and you haven't consulted with your children or the beneficiaries, well, you might be creating a problem that you don't necessarily need to.
And that they might not even want that property, or might live out of province and have no notion of moving into the property, right? So that just really becomes their investment property, which they must dispose of, right?
Yeah, we see that a lot with farms. We deal a lot with farming clients that whereby like if there's 3 or 4 children, one might want to stay on the farm and work the farm, and the other 2 might have careers in other fields that don't want to work the farm. So now, how do you equalize that estate so that it's fair for everyone? But that comes back to that conversation you just had, which is bringing everyone together so that everyone knows what the others is thinking.
And everybody's on board, and the kids don't argue after that, because there could be issues like this, right? So you're
absolutely.
You're there like as a mediator, kind of trying to come up with best case scenario for everybody involved.
That's right.
If the parents want to deal with the kids.
That's
that point, right?
Yep. And they don't have to disclose anything either. Sometimes they'll bring the kids in and they don't have to talk about specific assets and dollar value. They can just say, what is it that you'd like to see out of this process? And that's usually how I start. What would the parents like out of the process? What do the children want to see happen out of the process? And how do we make sure that we are documenting everything and creating the right plan for everybody? Yeah.
Excellent information. Thank you very much for coming. How can people reach you?
Yeah, again, if people want to reach out to me, they can reach me at o'farrellfinancial.com. They can also reach me at my email address, darren@ofsi.ca, or they can call my office, and I'd be happy to speak with them, which is 613-258-1997.
Great information. My name is Tom Witek. I'm an Ottawa real estate salesperson. You can find more information about me at justsellinghomes.ca. if you do like our conversations, we have them. We try to do them weekly. Please subscribe to the channel, and we're gonna post new content. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.